And as soon as Alice took the first bite, she couldn't believe just how delicious was this. But she gets more depressed, as Merlin is not only better at fighting, but is also better at cooking. She tells Merlin that from now on, she will do the chores, and he will be in charge of meals. The next day at the Adventurer Guild, Merlin was cursing Hobbs, as what he said about the race isn't accurate at all. Hobbs tell him to calm down, as it's very normal to lose 1 or 2 times in races. But when he heard that Merlin has never won even after betting 100 times, he got shocked. Still, he motivates Merlin to try a few more times. But Merlin has no money, as Alice really hides the money well. So he take out the key, and concluded that treasure hunting is more reliable. Suddenly, Merlin felt someone's gaze on him. It was Calzona, who went to look for Alice, but noticed the key in Merlin's possession. She knows that Merlin is Alice's husband, and she doesn't feel any mana from him, so she smiled, as she can definitely take the key from a mere villager. Hobbs then offered Merlin to go to Helena's secret cottage, as it's a place any man would understand. Merlin got curious about this secret cottage, and agreed to go with Hobbs. Merlin then reached the secret cottage along with Hobbs and another man from the guild. Merlin looked at Helena and thought that Alice should see what a real woman looks like. Hobbs then introduced Merlin to Helena, and as soon as Helena saw Merlin, she got shocked. She then take the 3 men to the VIP room, where Hobbs and the other man were enjoying their time. After a while, Calzona, dressed as a performer, arrived, and showed her moves to impress Merlin. But Merlin thought that there is something wrong with this woman, so he insulted Calzona and tried to leave. But before Merlin could leave, Helena informed him that someone wants to meet with Merlin. This shocked Hobbs and Merlin, as they thought that this someone is Alice. Helena was taking Merlin underground, so Merlin thought that luckily it's not Alice, as he'd definitely get a good scolding if that guardian of justice were to know about this. After reaching the place, Helena quickly bowed in front of Merlin and greeted him. Merlin realized that Helena is a demon, so he asked her how did she recognize him. Helena explained that she is the servant of the demon king of the 4th palace, the ruler of lust, Asmodeus, who is a friend of Merlin. Merlin got shocked, as Asmodeus is a demon who, in order to save his palace from economic depression, dressed as a woman and become an idol. And after explaining everything to Merlin, she left. After entering the room, Merlin noticed a magic mirror, so he sat in front of it, and asked Asmodeus to show himself. Asmodeus appeared and greeted Merlin. Merlin tried to act smug in front of Asmodeus, but when he revealed how Merlin fall in love with him when they first met, Merlin tells him to stop. Asmodeus informed Merlin that the parliamentary elders are looking for him, as the title of the first Demon King Palace, the ruler of pride, is empty. Merlin asked if Asmodeus just want to say this. Asmodeus then tell him that his subordinates found some traces of Hell's envoys in Great Britain, and as Merlin started a feud with Hell before, so Asmodeus suggested him to be careful. But Merlin tell him to not worry, as if the Lord of Hell, Satan, came, then he will just slay him. After the meeting, Merlin tell Helen to not call him Lucifer, as he's not the Demon King anymore. Helen misunderstood his intentions and thought that Merlin is on a secret mission for the demon race. Merlin knew that Helen is misunderstanding him, but he still tried to use her and said that for the sake of the mission, he wants her to pay his debt for him. But as soon as Helen heard that the debt is more than 10 million gold coins, she quickly shut the door on him and tell Merlin to go home and sleep. And as Merlin was going home, Calzona was following him and decides to kill Merlin. She quickly dashed toward Merlin and attacked him with her daggers, but Merlin sensed the attack and used his swords back to knock her down. He realized that it's the same lady from the pub, so he tell her to stop hitting on him and left. Calzona was in shock and realized that Merlin was hiding his strength, so she won't be able to take the key back alone. The black portal opened and asked Calzona about the mission. Calzona bowed and told the man that the opponent is probably at the peak of Saint rank. This shocked the man, and he realized that Bernard was defeated by Merlin. Calzona then asked the man if he remembered the Frost Saint Dragon Isram. This Frost Dragon is one of the 6 Saint Dragons, and it formed a contract with the former king. And the dragon was sealed by the 1,000 court mages when the realm was destroyed. Calzona said that she knows the language of dragons, so she can awaken Isram. The man said if Isram still abides by the contract with his father, then their strength will be doubled. The next day, Alice was training with Merlin to quickly reach the saint rank. But just like before, she attacked Merlin with magic, but he easily knocked her down. While resting, Merlin suggested her to change her style, as being a magic swordsman is too much for her. But she refused, as she has vowed to become the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, when she was training with her teacher. She then asked Merlin, is his weapon the reason he's so strong? Because in the past, the bishop told her that the demon sword that Merlin uses is strong, but he, as a person, is not. But Merlin denied this and explained that this sword is the weapon of the king. It's mainly used to prove one's identity, and those who are not acknowledged by the sword can't even pull it out. He then gave his sword to Alice and asked her to try pulling it out. Alice tried pulling it with her full force, but was unable to do it. And after resting for a while, Alice started her training again. While fighting, Alice used her new move on Merlin, but before Merlin could react to that, his heart felt intense pain. Unable to handle the pain, Merlin starts falling toward Alice. Alice realized something was wrong, so she used her full force to change the direction of the attack. But still her sword scratched Merlin. Finally, his heart stopped hurting, but Alice was scolding him for head-butting her. Merlin looked at his hand and was confused, as even though Church's holy water don't work on him, but Alice's sword managed to cut him. He picked up the sword and noticed that the sword is strange. It was as if it's defying him. He returned the sword to Alice and asked her why did she put a seal on it. But Alice has no clue about it, as she stole this sword from her teacher. She explained that she secretly ran out of the mountains, thinking she is ready for the outer world. Merlin then insulted Alice for running from her teacher and ended the training. At night, Merlin was looking at his wound, thinking that Alice's sword is not a normal weapon, as it managed to injure him. The next day, Alice takes Merlin to meet her friend, Da Vinci, so she can tell them about the key. And as Alice went close to Vinci, she was grabbed by a woman named Rossetti from behind. Alice looked at her in a disgusted way, but the woman shouted that she has bigger breasts, is more popular, live in a bigger place, and don't have several 10 million debt, nothing else, so why is she so hostile towards her? Alice couldn't handle her sweet words, as she coughed blood from her mouth. Rossetti then looked at Merlin and asked Alice if he's her husband that everyone is talking about. But Alice refused and said that they are not married, but just a normal married couple. Rossetti then quickly pressed her melons against Merlin and asked him if she is better than Alice or not. But before Merlin could say anything, Alice jumped between them and tell Rossetti to stay away from Merlin, as he's hers. But in front of Merlin's and Rossetti's cold gazes, she changed the topic. Alice thought that the only person she likes is Elgin's master swordsman, but the food Merlin makes is really delicious. Without wasting any time, Merlin showed the key to Vinci and asked her about it. After looking at the key, Vinci tells him that this key is a remnant from the previous realm. And when she tried to examine it through her magic, she felt an ominous aura from it. Terrified, she tells Merlin that the aura this key is emitting doesn't belong to this world. She then asked Merlin to give the key to her so she can study it thoroughly. Merlin refused it at first, but after Alice's guarantee, he gave the key to her. After some days, Kaltsona reached the place where the frost dragon is sealed. She looked around and realized that they have paid a miserable price to seal it, as so many high-rank mages have died in the ice torrent. She then went close to the sealed dragon and started speaking in dragon's language. "Oh, the great descendant of the 6 saint dragons, the ruler of ice, the protector of the royals that have slept till now, awaken upon my summoning." Then the next second, Icebream awakens and appeared in front of Kaltsona. Kaltsona introduced herself and asked if Icebream remembered her. Icebream tells her to stop using her crappy dragon language, as Icebream can speak the human language. Kaltsona then bowed in front of Icebream and congratulates Icebream on the revival. Icebream asked, how is she still alive, as she has long passed the limit of a human's lifespan. Kaltsona explained that she is revived by His Highness Copperfield, who has lived until now through the blood of elves and is working hard to revive the previous realm. She then asked Icebream to help them in this, but Icebream refused and said that she protected the kingdom because of the contract with the king, but there is no need for that now. Kaltsona asked Icebream to help them in return for reviving her, but she still refused, as helping them revive the realm isn't fair. Kaltsona then asked her to defeat a person for her, so Icebream agreed. Meanwhile, Merlin suddenly woke up, as his heart starts hurting again. And while Icebream was thinking of killing the enemy, Merlin was also thinking of killing a strong individual to ease up the curse. The interval of the curse is shorter than usual, because recently Merlin killed Bernard and Ian, but they both were undead, so killing them didn't help with his curse. and even the Goblin Emperor was so weak that it couldn't alleviate his curse so well. Alice came downstairs and got shocked to see Merlin, who was crying in pain. She tried to help Merlin, but he refused for her help and lay down on the bed. Alice put the blanket on Merlin and said he doesn't have to bear it alone. If something like this happens, he can just call her. But she realized what she just said and quickly changed the topic. She said that she is just worried about him, because they pay the rent together, so if he died for no reason, then she will be in trouble. Merlin was thinking that even Alice is pitying him, and he fail as a demon king. Alice then put hot milk on the side and tell him to take care, and as Alice was leaving, Merlin stopped her. Merlin said that they have been resting for a while, so they should do some work now. He also tells Alice to at least think about what she is wearing, as her clothes are translucent, though he's not interested in a flat chest. Alice then shouted at Merlin and quickly went upstairs. The next day, at the guild, Alice was scolding Hobbs to take Merlin to an indecent place. Alice and Merlin were checking the missions which they can accept. Luja then informed them that yesterday she received a specific request for them. The request is from the Sujeji village at the foot of Ben Nevis mountain. She tells them that the villagers there are getting attacked by the dragons. Luja added that there's the rumor of a dragon eating humans and even demanding young girls as sacrifices. The level of the mission is S and the reward is 20,000 gold coins. Merlin asked about the dragon's strength and Hobbs tells him that it's not a normal dragon, but one of the 6 saint dragons. And as Iceram was sealed nearby, so it must be her, Iceram, the ice dragon. This shocked Luja, as even the Thorn Knights can't defeat one of the 6 saint dragons. Hobbs comments that only the Demon King that lives in the north can defeat one. Luja asked why only the Demon King can defeat one. Hobbs explained that a few years ago, the sacred dragon Ives went to fight Lucifer III but never returned from there. Meanwhile, Merlin was happy to hear such praises about himself. Merlin then thought that if it really is Iceram, then this is worth exploring, so he said that they will accept the task. Luja was against this idea as this is dangerous. But Alice said that if there are casualties, then she can't just sit back and watch this to go on, so they will take this task. After a while, Arnold barged into the guild and asked Alice to return his heart that she stole from him. But Hobbs told him that Alice is away on a mission with Merlin. At the same time, Merlin sneezed, so Alice asked him if he's feeling cold. But Merlin replied that he never feels cold, maybe someone is saying bad things about him. Alice tells him the reason why he doesn't feel cold, because he's a cold-blooded animal. Merlin then removed his gloves and touched Alice's cheeks, and to Alice's surprise, his hands were warm. He then revealed that the demon's body temperature is higher than human. Alice then throws a bag at him and said, as he lost so much money on horse racing, that he can't even afford a scarf, so she is gifting him one. Merlin said that the scarf looks like a bargain, but whatever lands in this devil's hand belongs to him, so he wear it. They then noticed an ice mountain, and wondered if this was the doing of the ice dragon. Meanwhile, Iceram was waiting inside the ice mountain while enjoying its human food. Kaltsona then informed her that the target is going to arrive soon. Iceram was excited, as after killing this human, she will go to meet her old friend Ives. But after hearing the name Ives, Kaltsona got pale, and when Iceram asked her the reason, she revealed that she heard a rumor about Lord Ives. She heard that Lord Ives had died under the hands of the ruler of pride, Merlin Lucifer. This angered Iceram, as there's no way a mere demon king can kill her friend Ives. Iceram then decides to go and check this herself after killing this enemy. Merlin and Alice then reached outside the mountain, where a little girl named Simon greeted them, and said that she was the one that invited them to defeat the dragon. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. Merlin and Alice then reached outside the mountain, where a little girl named Simon greeted them, and said that she was the one that invited them to defeat the dragon. Alice then asked the girl Simon Anne about the dragon and what exactly happened. Anne explained that one day, it suddenly started to snow. The snowstorm relentlessly battered them and made the village extremely cold. And then, a ferocious dragon descended from the sky and made an ice mountain. Many villagers lost their lives, and the dragon even made them present a girl for him to eat. And because they were scared, many of her friends and sisters have been eaten. Alice then tells her to not worry, as now everyone will be saved. Merlin then asked Anne why did she specifically ask for them. Anne said that there was something in the newspaper about the heroine Alice, who solved a huge crisis. After a while, they reach the village, where they meet with Anne's father, who is the head of the village. The village head then pointed towards the ice mountain, and tell them that this was created by Iceram, and advised them to head back, as they can't defeat one of the 6 sacred dragons. The elder said that the only option is to negotiate with the dragon, by giving him the girls to eat. But Alice refused to sacrifice any more girls, and decided to break that ice mountain herself. She went close to the ice mountain and attacked it with full power, but the ice was so hard that she could only scratch it. The villagers said that she can't even break the ice, so there is no way they can defeat the dragon. But Alice pointed toward Merlin, and said he can fight the dragon with no problems. She then begged Merlin to break the ice, so the villagers can trust them. Merlin then put his hand on the mountain, and crushed it with a punch. All villagers got shocked, as Merlin easily destroyed the mountain. At the same time, Iceram noticed that someone broke the ice made by her, so she decided to go and check it. Meanwhile, inside the village, Alice and Merlin were enjoying hot springs. Alice quickly hit Merlin, as she didn't know when he came beside her. Alice was thinking that even though she is the predecessor of Merlin, but somehow it feels like she is slowing Merlin down. She asked Merlin how can she increase her strength. Merlin tells her if she can get the inheritance crystal of a dragon, then she will have both the flesh and magic power of the dragon clan. But unfortunately, the probability of the crystal appearing would be less than him winning a horse race. At the same time, Calzona was furious to know that Merlin and Alice didn't bring the key with them. Then later at night, the village head tells Merlin about some abnormal things happening in the village. He said that before Iceram attacked, the village priest told him that Anne was surrounded by darkness, like she was possessed by a demon. And the next day, the village priest was murdered, and soon after, that Iceram suddenly attacked the village. Merlin thought that there is something wrong with Anne, as even if Alice is famous, a remote village wouldn't know about her. And when Merlin got to know that Simon can't read, he realized that she lied to them. Suddenly, the ground shook and turned into ice as Iceram came to the village. Iceram looked at Alice and asked her about the human named Merlin. Alice was too scared that she couldn't even move, and as Iceram was about to kill Alice, Merlin arrived on time and sent Iceram flying with a punch. Alice looked at Merlin and thought that just now Merlin looked so handsome. Iceram stood up and fired her dragon breath, but Merlin easily blocked the attack. Merlin then went toward Iceram to fight her. The villagers were running to save their lives, and when they were about to be killed by the falling ice, Alice saved them. She knows that Merlin can defeat Iceram, so what's important right now is to help the villagers escape safely. Suddenly, Anne appeared and went close to Alice with a dagger in her hand. Alice noticed something and quickly threw her away with a kick. Alice realized if it weren't for Merlin's training, she couldn't have avoided that attack. Anne stood up as a smile emerged on her face. And in front of Alice and the village head, Anne turned into Calzona. The elder asked Calzona what has she done to his daughter. Calzona laughed and replied that his daughter is in the stomach of Iceram. She then introduced herself as Calzona, one of the 4 heroes of the previous realm. Alice realized that she is that dragon-taming robber, so Alice asked her if she's there to avenge Bernard. Calzona then attacked Alice and said that she's there to take the keys that Alice stole from them. Alice was shocked to know that Calzona killed all these villagers just because she wanted the key. Alice then used her special move that she used on Merlin, but still got defeated by Calzona. Calzona said that she underestimated Alice, as Alice managed to injure her. Calzona knows that the key is with not Alice, so she summons Zoe and tell him to take Alice to their base while she will check with Iceram. At the same time, Merlin was fighting with Iceram. Iceram announced that she is one of the 6 sacred dragons, and Merlin will pay for his terrible actions. But Merlin just laughed and said that being a sacred dragon is not great, as the other sacred dragon Ives is just a pet that watched over his house. This angered Iceram, as she shouted that Ives couldn't submit to a mere human. Merlin then punched Iceram and asked what if it was a demon king, the ruler of pride. Iceram realized that Merlin is not a normal human, but the demon king of pride. She attacked him with her dragon breath again, but it didn't affect Merlin. Iceram then attacked Merlin with her full power. Merlin dodged the attack, thinking if it wasn't for the curse influence, he wouldn't need to avoid this attack at all. But still, Merlin was happy, as the first time in his life, he was having a proper fight. Iceram then dashed toward Merlin and tried to bite him, but Merlin easily threw him away. Iceram knows that Merlin has magic resistance, but she thought there ought to be a limit to that, so she attacked Merlin with her strongest magic attack. Kaltsona knows that attack, it's called Glacial Blast. Last time the attack was used, most of the sea was frozen, and the being who forced Iceram to use it remains one of the biggest mysteries. The attack was so powerful that its effect even reached Rexem. And when the snow cleared, Merlin got frozen by the attack. Iceram laughed, as Merlin will never be able to escape, because nobody has ever survived her glacial blast before. Kaltsona laughed and said that even if he's a part of the Holy Sea, he will still be defeated by Iceram. But to their surprise, Merlin cancelled the effect with just a sneeze. Iceram was confused to see Merlin unaffected, because her glacial blast not only freezes the entire body, but also the soul, so it's impossible to escape even for a demon king. Merlin realized that if he fight any longer, then the villagers and Alice will be in danger, so he dashed toward Iceram and attacked her with his sword. Iceram laughed and said that even if he's strong, his little knife is useless against her. Suddenly Iceram realized that she is upside down, and so Iceram was killed by Merlin. Merlin now feels much lighter as his curse effect is easing up. Suddenly, he looked behind and noticed Kaltsona with a dagger. She laughed and cut the corpse of Iceram. Merlin thought that the goddess of luck is Alice's mother, as the Iceram had the inheritance crystal. But in front of Merlin's eyes, Kaltsona swallowed the crystal. And with the power of the crystal, Kaltsona gained the dragon's power. She laughed, as she's no longer a spirit, but become a human being once more. She then attacked Merlin, and split the ground with a single attack. Kaltsona laughed, as with the inheritance crystal, her strength is far above the holy rank. She then tells Merlin to hand over the key, as they have his wife Alice held captive. But Merlin laughed and said that he would never give up the key just for Alice. Kaltsona then used her newly acquired skill, and captured Merlin in her darkness array. Merlin realized that in this outside world, all his senses are sealed. But even with his senses sealed, Merlin killed Kaltsona with a single strike, and got the inheritance crystal. He muttered that there's nothing good about the power of a dragon if one can't master it. He then looked at the crystal and thought that the time until Alice reaches the holy rank will be greatly shortened, and once she becomes a high-level adventurer, an SSS commission will just be around the corner. And as Iceram was killed, all the villagers, who were frozen by Iceram, started to unfreeze. At the same time, Zoe was watching everything from afar and was disappointed in Kaltsona. He thought that even if he and his brother fight Merlin together, it will be difficult to defeat him. He then opened the portal and was about to take Alice to their base when suddenly someone grabbed his hand. That someone was none other than Merlin, who asked Zoe where is he taking his wife, but he quickly corrected himself and said that she is not his wife. Merlin then tells him again to let go of his roommate. Zoe knew he couldn't defeat Merlin, so he cut off his own hand and quickly escaped into the portal. Inside the hideout, Copperfield was shocked to know that Iceram and Kaltsona have been slaughtered. Zoe tell him to not worry, because Kaltsona's death was not in vain, as she left a clue to the key's whereabouts. At the same time, Alice woke up in a cell and remembered that she was taken hostage. She tried to escape from the prison, but her powers were not working, as a magic circle was limiting her abilities. She thought that Merlin would never come to save her, and by now, he must have returned home and occupied her bed. Alice knew that if Merlin found the treasure, then he will never come to save her, so she prayed to God to keep Merlin poor. At the same time, Merlin was feeling someone's evil intent on him. He was in the village, where he found Alice's sword. He then asked the village head to lend him their fastest horse. Meanwhile, inside the cell, when Alice was praying to God, she noticed someone behind her. It was an elf girl, who was scared of Alice, and was begging her to stop cutting her wrist. Alice calms her down and tell her that she is also caught just like her. The elf girl tells Alice that these guys are taking her blood, as her blood has the ability to prolong the lives of demons. She said that she's been here for more than half a year and her father must be worried about her. Alice tells her to not worry, as her husband is quite strong, and he will definitely save them from there. Meanwhile, Vinsai was trying to uncover the secret of the key. She used ancient magic on the key to check everything about it. And as soon as she used the spell, she found herself in hell, where a red-haired demon was looking at her. Vinsai quickly cancelled the spell, and her consciousness returned to her. Suddenly, she saw a shadow of someone outside their door. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. And as soon as she used the spell, she found herself in hell, where a red-haired demon was looking at her. Vinsai quickly cancelled the spell, and her consciousness returned to her. Suddenly, she saw a shadow of someone outside their door. The door opened, and a man in a cloak came inside. The man was none other than Merlin, who asked Vinsai about the key. Vinsai tells Merlin that the key can open the entrance to hell. Merlin was disappointed, as the key is not for the treasure. Vinsai then advises Merlin to give the key to the royal family or the Holy See. But Merlin tells her that Alice was captured by people from the former realm, so he needs the key to free her. Vinsai thought that Merlin's love for Alice is starting to show, so she handed the key to him. Merlin thanked her for the key while thinking that he will not pay the debt alone. Vinsai suggests Merlin to not put up a front as a romantic hero and wait for the help to arrive. To which Merlin smiled and replied that he's not a hero and romance isn't suitable for him. He just needs to bring Alice back so she can do the housework. At the same time, Alice had become friends with her inmate, and while they were talking about escaping, they heard someone's voice. Then the member of the 4 heroes came inside to collect the blood of the elf girl. Shirley cried and begged him to be merciful when Alice came in front to save her. But the man punched Alice and threw her away for interrupting. And before he could hurt Alice again, Shirley begged him to stop hurting Alice as she's ready to give her blood to him. Frustrated, Alice only wished to be strong like Merlin. Copperfield drinks the blood and realized that even the elven blood can't maintain his body anymore. But Zoe tells him to not worry, as he is only one step away to become the new king of this era. Copperfield laughed, as once the army of hell will be released, the kingdom will be under his control once again. He then orders Zoe to handle the guests who just arrived. Outside the ruins, a knight informed his leader that they have arrived at the location. But before the knight's army could attack the place, someone attacked them. Then, the remnants of the 4 heroes, the brothers Zoe and Joey, appeared. The leader Sahadin then ordered the knights to attack them. After a while, all we see was the dead bodies of the knights, including the leader Sahadin. The only one left alive was the same knight from before, who muttered that they miscalculated the enemy's strength. At the same time, Zoe said that his wound is itching, so he's finally here. Merlin arrived and asked Zoe if he's there to welcome him. Without wasting any time, Zoe and Joey dashed toward Merlin. Merlin was attacked by thunder, but he was unharmed by it. Pissed, Merlin looked at Zoe and wondered where's the other one. Suddenly, he got attacked by Joey, who managed to steal Merlin's sword. Zoe laughed, as now that they took his weapon, Merlin won't be able to use his quick draw. Unafraid, Zoe dashed toward Merlin to kill him, but to his surprise, Merlin attacked him and cut his other arm as well. Merlin said, even though this sword is not efficient, but it's enough to deal with them. Zoe then used his attack to block Merlin's vision so Joey could kill him. But to their surprise, Merlin broke Joey's sword and killed both brothers with a single strike. The knight was shocked, as even though his leader was killed in seconds, this swordsman was able to kill 2 saint ranks easily. Meanwhile, Copperfield realized that the key is near, as the gate of hell was resonating. At the same time, Alice was shouting at Copperfield for locking them above the lava. Shirley was crying and said that she should have listened to her father and never should have gone out without his permission. Alice tried to calm her down while hoping that Merlin would come to save her. And to her surprise, Merlin really came. Merlin pointed his finger at Copperfield and asked if he's the leader of those corpses he just killed. Alice couldn't believe that Merlin really came to save her and thinks that Merlin likes her. But Merlin looked at Alice and called her a troublesome woman. And while the two are quarreling, Copperfield lowered the cage and asked Merlin to hand over the key to him. Merlin takes out the key and asked Copperfield if he's in contact with the apostles from hell. Shocked, Copperfield asked Merlin how he know about this, or did he make a deal with hell as well. Merlin smiled and replied that he rejected their proposal, as he, the Demon King, would never stoop so low as to submit to hell. Copperfield asked if he's a Demon King, then why is he interfering in human affairs? Merlin dodged the question and realized that Copperfield is already one of Satan's dogs. Copperfield shouted that Satan has promised him immortality, eternal youth, supreme power, and an invincible army. Alice shouted at Merlin and tell him to not give the key to Copperfield. But to her surprise, Merlin gave the key to Copperfield and tell him to do what he wants. Alice starts scolding Merlin for handing over the key this easily when Shirley asked Alice if Merlin is really here to save them. Alice tells her to not worry, as even though Merlin looked like a weakling, but his quick draw is extremely powerful. This disappointed Shirley even more, as the quick draw is a low-level skill that doesn't even require magic. And as Copperfield got the key, he released Alice and Shirley. Copperfield shouted that giving the key to him was Merlin's biggest mistake. He opened the gate and ordered the Hell's Army to come out and conquer the world for him. Merlin returned Alice's sword to her and tell her to be ready, as the guests will be arriving soon. Merlin went close to the entrance of hell when he heard a voice saying, "Is that you, Lucifer 3? A red-haired demon came out and said she has finally found the ruthless Lucifer 3. Alice was confused as how this girl knows Merlin. And as soon as the girl saw Merlin, she lost her temper. Merlin tried his best to remember her, but even after thinking for a while, he called her a stranger. The girl ordered the army to stand back, as she will deal with Merlin personally. She attacked Merlin and said that she will make him pay for what he did. Copperfield shouted at the girl and said that he is the one who summoned her, so she should follow her commands. But the girl threatened him to keep quiet, or she will kill him first. Merlin tells the girl that something is wrong, as she's not the same hell disciple that was summoned last time. This angered the girl even more, as she asked Merlin how could he hurt a cute girl like Trist. And when Alice looked at Merlin, she was shocked to see his expression. The red-haired girl attacked Merlin and shouted that she will teach him a lesson for what he did to Trist. But to her surprise, her attack didn't even scratch Merlin. She then ordered her minion to combine and show Merlin their true powers. The minions then combined into a huge infernal demon. But to everyone's surprise, Merlin destroyed the demon in the Hell Gate with a single strike. The knight, who witnessed this all, couldn't believe that this Elgin's master swordsman defeated the monster of that level with only one strike. Merlin thought that it was a shame that the demon was a puppet, or he could have gained quite a few years. Copperfield was crying, as all his dreams and his ambitions were crushed by a single man. Merlin looked at him and said that someone who borrows the strength of others is not qualified to be a king. Copperfield asked Merlin that he could acquire everything this world has to offer, so why is he not wanting to rule the world? Merlin replied that even though it sounds nice, but to rule the world is troublesome, so he doesn't want it. Alice realized that Merlin's laziness has saved the world, and prayed to keep Merlin stay like this forever. Merlin added that he's just an iron-ranked adventurer, who only wants to live a carefree and lazy life. But Copperfield lost his mind and said he knows Merlin's true identity, that he's a god, and as he's just a mere mortal, he could never defeat him. Alice asked Merlin why didn't he kill Copperfield, as he deserved to be punished. To which Merlin replied that a person without dreams is nothing more than a dead man walking, so he's not worth killing. After a while, the villagers were thanking Alice and Merlin for saving them. The village head then offered the payment, and Merlin quickly accepted that. On the way, Alice was angry at Merlin for taking the payment, as the villagers needed it to rebuild the village. But Merlin said that this is their hard-earned money and they needed it to pay the rent. He also asked Alice about the elf girl, who is now traveling with them. Alice introduced her to Merlin and said that she will help her in getting back to her home. Alice also added that Shirley will stay with them for some time. Shirley noticed that Merlin was unhappy, so she said that if it's a matter of money then she have 1,000,000 gold coins that she can give to him. And as soon as Shirley revealed that the 1,000,000 gold coins is her pocket money, Alice and Merlin got shocked. Shirley asked Merlin if 1,000,000 coins is enough for him, to which Merlin replied that protecting ladies is part of his job. At night, Shirley was sleeping when Alice asked Merlin about Trist that the red-haired demon mentioned. Horrified, Merlin explained that when he was still a demon king, Trist approached him and introduced herself as an emissary of hell. And as soon as he looked at her, he realized that the world is a scary place, as he coughed blood by just looking at her. She offered him to join Satan's army, but Merlin instantly refused. And when she mentioned about him seeing hell, he sent her flying. Alice realized that Merlin misunderstood her words and makes Satan his enemy. After a while, Merlin was looking at the dragon's stone, thinking that whether or not it will be useful will depend on Alice. At the same time, Alice and Shirley were enjoying the bath. Merlin heard their conversation and thought maybe this crystal will fix Alice's flat chest. At night, Shirley was praising Merlin, as he's not only good at battle, but at cooking as well. At the same time, in some other place, a man was talking about beating an alchemist who mutated the local fish that made them dangerous to humans. His man was scared, but he told him to not worry and said that he is a famous mercenary, so a mere alchemist couldn't be a match for him. The man then noticed something in the fog, so he asked his men to be careful. Something came flying at him, but his armor saved him from the attack. The man got scared to see the fishes, who were attacking his men and killing them one by one. And before he could understand anything, a monster appeared from the bottom of the sea and crushed his boat. Then we see a man who shouted that he's coming to meet his sweet lady Asmodeus. Back at home, Merlin tells Alice now that the elf girl is asleep, so he will show her big treasure. But after seeing her expression, Merlin tells her to get her head out of the gutter, as he was referring to the dragon's crystal. Alice was shocked and asked, from where did he get this? Merlin explained that he got this after killing Iceram, and now she can use this to ascend to saint rank easily. He explained that if they grind the crystal before using it, then she can acquire the dragon's power, without any change in her appearance. After a while, Merlin asked Alice if she is feeling any changes, as she acquired the dragon's power now. But Alice replied that she is not feeling anything, just the same as before. She said that the crystal must be a fake, but Merlin said he would never make a mistake like this. Later, Merlin was thinking about why the crystal didn't work on Alice when he saw her approaching. And as soon as he saw her, he gets shocked, as her chest is big now. But that person was Shirley, who asked Merlin to go with her, as something is happening to Alice. Merlin went inside the room, and noticed Alice covered with a freezing aura. Merlin realized that Alice is unable to control her newfound powers, so he asked Shirley to sleep on the couch, while he will fix Alice. He then went close to Alice and sleep next to her, and just like he thought, his anti-magic body managed to help Alice. Merlin was confused, as when Alice touched him, his heart rate go up. The next day, Alice opened her eyes and find Merlin next to her, who asked if she sleep well. Shirley ran upstairs after hearing a shout and find Alice on top of Merlin. Alice was crying and accused Merlin of taking her innocence and her purity. But Merlin tells her to calm down, as he's just helping her, because her body is unable to keep the dragon's power under control. He went close to Alice and explained that until she reached saint rank, they need to share the bed, or who knows what would happen to her. And after hearing his words, Alice knows that she's in deep trouble now. After a while, Alice was telling Merlin to help her in reaching the saint rank soon, as she doesn't want to rely on him any more than she has to. But Merlin insulted her and said that last night she hugged him quite a lot. And while Alice was telling Merlin to never mention what happened last night, Vincey and Rossetti came and greeted them. Vincey then tells Alice to treasure the relationship that she has with Merlin, as even though Merlin is an iron rank adventurer, he showed enough conviction beyond the higher ranks. After a while, they reach the waterfall, and Merlin tell her to try manifesting her aura. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. Vincey then tells Alice to treasure the relationship that she has with Merlin, as even though Merlin is an iron rank adventurer, he showed enough conviction beyond the higher ranks. After a while, they reach the waterfall, and Merlin tell her to try manifesting her aura. Alice checked her aura and said that the power of the dragon race is incredible. But Merlin taunts her and said that this is nowhere near their power, and once she fully absorbs the crystal, her power will be several times stronger than this. Alice then confidently said that in just some time, she will surpass him. She then attacked Merlin with her newly acquired dragon powers. But in just some seconds, she understood that the reality is so harsh. While returning, Merlin tell her to focus on clearing the debts, as it is more realistic than defeating him. Suddenly, they are stopped by the different shop owners at the market, who thanked Alice for always helping them. And as they were going back to their home, they were stopped by the landlady. She smiled and said that they are looking like they have been married for years. Merlin thought that he would never marry a washboard like Alice, while Alice was thinking that she would never marry a perverted demon like Merlin. The landlady said that she misses her husband and tell them to be a little more intimate around her. And if they agree to do it, then she will think of having their rent. Merlin and Alice quickly get close and asked her how they look. This made the landlady happy, as she thanked them for bringing back her pleasant memories. After a while, Alice was angry, because Merlin suggested to be a little more intimate around the landlady to reduce their rent. She then starts preparing for dinner, but after looking at her, Merlin decides to teach her how to chop vegetables. Shirley looked at them and muttered, how could they deny that they are a married couple? The next day, Merlin was reading the news of the copper field and thought that he really is an unlucky guy. As with an infernal army like that, he could have conquered any kingdom he desired. He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. He then noticed Alice looking at a broadcast from the capital. The knight who survived was telling the people that it was the Elgin master swordsman who defeated the infernal demon. He added that the reason Copperfield lost his sanity was due to the overwhelming power of the Elgin's master swordsman. Therefore, he is the true hero. The people start cheering for the swordsman. Alice thought that the people mistook Merlin for the sword master of Elgin, as they look a little similar. While Merlin was depressed, as a previous demon king is now the savior of mankind. Suddenly, the knight was kicked by someone. It was his captain Franklin, who said that they had a chance to make a name for themselves, but he has gone and squandered it. He then took out his sword and attempted to kill the knight. But suddenly, a giant eagle appeared in the sky. The eagle landed and a red-haired woman came forward. The knight Chapman quickly bowed and addressed her as Lady Macefield. Franklin said that Chapman went against the orders, so they must punish him. But to his surprise, Macefield slapped him. She asked him if he's trying to drag their queen's name through the mud. Franklin explained that the fame of this swordsman is increasing so much that it's threatening their existence. So they should punish Chapman for helping him, as he's a traitor. But Macefield said that it's only thanks to Chapman that they have not lost their honor as knights. And the one who needs to be punished is Franklin, as he tried to claim the work of others and lied to the public. Franklin tried to defend himself, but Macefield told him to go away, as she will report this incident to Her Majesty herself. She then went close to Chapman and asked if he's alright. She then apologized to the public for the disturbance caused by Franklin, and also showed her gratitude toward the Elgin's master swordsman. But she added that someone who is afraid of making his identity public can't be trusted. She then announced that the Elgin's master swordsman is a wanted criminal, and she will apprehend him on behalf of Great Britain and its citizens. To which Merlin just smiled and thought he would like to see her try. Suddenly, the broadcast device stopped working, and while Alice was trying to fix the device, Hobbs tells Merlin that he's in danger. He said that according to Luja, Alice likes this swordsman, so he's in danger of being cuckolded. Alice went close to them and asked what they are talking about. To which Merlin replied that he's just telling Hobbs about how she kicked him off the bed this morning. Alice shouted, that's because Merlin snuck into her bed in the middle of the night. This conversation was heard by Arnold, as he ran away and said he will never fall in love again. Alice said that she promised to cook for Shirley today, and asked Merlin to look for a suitable job for them. Hobbs asked about Shirley, but Merlin ignored the question, and bribed him to tell him about any jobs around Lydney. Hobbs said that Lydney is home to many strong adventurers, so they usually handle everything themselves. But there was a quest worth 100,000 not long ago. This shocked Merlin, and he asked if the quest is still available. But Hobbs replied that he's out of luck, as a 14-year-old mithril adventurer took it. Hobbs said that the adventurer name is Johnson, and he has the ability to copy any spell he sees. And the scariest thing is that there is no time limit for how long he can keep a copied spell, and once he increases his collection, then he will be invincible. Suddenly, Helena entered the guild and greeted Hobbs and Merlin. She then asked Hobbs if she could borrow Merlin for a little while. And while Merlin was leaving with her, Hobbs muttered that even though he's married, he's still hungry for more. On the way, Merlin asked Helena why Asmodeus wants to meet him. Helena said that she's not sure, but if she had to guess, then it's because of Merlin's secret plan is not going well. Merlin then tells her to not talk about this plan to anyone, but in reality, he was sorry for fooling her. After a while, Merlin reached the place and asked Asmodeus about the matter. Asmodeus said that recently he has been chased around by a passionate human fan. And the problem is that human uses alchemy to alter the human body and produce monsters known as alchemy beasts. It's a mutated life form that is only capable of basic attacks. However, his followers told him that they can feel a greater power within them. So he tried to talk to the alchemist, but in return for giving him his alchemy beasts, he wants to marry him. Merlin said that if he hates the idea that much, then he should just refuse the alchemist. But Asmodeus explained that his fourth demon king's palace is closest to the church, and is under constant threat, so he needs to increase his military strength. But Merlin tells him to not worry, as if something happens, he will come and help him. After a while, Merlin was going back to his home, thinking he didn't find any jobs. He reached home and noticed Alice talking to someone. Merlin looked at the woman and asked who is she. Cecilia then introduced herself, and Merlin remembered her from the skeleton incident. Angered by Merlin's behavior, Kyle insulted Merlin. But Cecilia ordered him to stop insulting Merlin, as he's their savior. After talking for a while, Merlin understands that Cecilia wants him to accompany her to an island in Dover Strait to defeat the evil alchemist. She explained that she wants to clear up her past failures within her family, and Merlin is the only one who can help her. She added that she is ready to provide suitable compensation for his services. Merlin smiled and asked if she's thinking of using her body as payment again. Alice quickly grabbed Merlin's collar and said that even though the marriage between them is fake, but still, he should learn to control himself. Shirley was listening to all this and decided to not get involved, so she went and hid upstairs. Merlin's words angered Kyle as he dashed toward Merlin to kill him. But with just a little tap of a spoon, Kyle goes flying and collided into the wall. Cecilia apologized to Merlin for Kyle's behavior, but Merlin tells her to talk about the reward, as he's not interested in anything else. Cecilia said she thought that Lord Merlin is someone who was above petty things, but he's just as greedy as everyone else for money. But still, she offered 300,000 gold coins to Merlin. Merlin quickly agreed to help, but Alice stopped him, as he already promised to take Shirley back to her home that is in Lydney. Merlin thought that getting Shirley home will give them 1 million gold coins, so he refused Cecilia's request and tell her to come back later. But Cecilia said that they will be passing Lydney on their way, so his friend can join them. Merlin quickly accepted her offer, as it will also save their transportation fees. The next day, the group left in the carriage. Cecilia explained that they need to defeat an alchemist who mutated the fish around a village and caused a crisis. Merlin said that according to him, an adventurer named Johnson has already left for the Kent village. This shocked Alice and Cecilia, as Johnson is known as the genius magician of Ireland. At the same time, in Lydney, an elf woman named Samuel was bowing in front of a mirror and said that they are one step closer to their mission. The elf named Ashdal, who was sealed in the mirror, laughed and said that it will be a beautiful scene when they will sacrifice the entire population of Lydney. But Samuel interrupted and said that they will need an elf of royal blood so they can activate the spell. Ashdal knew that the elf king closely guards his children, so their only option is to find his lost daughter, who went missing half a year ago. Samuel then confidently replied that she will bring Princess Shirley to him at all costs. Meanwhile, Shirley was happy, as she will be reaching Lydney tomorrow. The next day, Merlin and his group arrived at the city of Lydney. Merlin was thinking that it's a little suspicious, as on this trip, nothing has occurred. Cecilia then asked Merlin what he thinks about Lydney. Merlin replied that there are so many people, so of course it's annoying. Cecilia said that it is a large city, and there are many places of entertainment like bars, baths, and gambling. But before Merlin could go for the gambling, he's stopped by Alice, who forbids him from going there. And as Merlin and Alice were quarreling about the money, Cecilia asked, why are they dividing their wealth as they are married? And before Merlin could say that they are not married, Alice stopped him from doing so and changed the topic. Cecilia looked outside and said, it's the College of the Goddess. Merlin noticed a stone sculpture in front of the college and thinks that she looks familiar. And while Merlin was insulting the goddess, Kyle advised him to stop, as the goddess followers might take offense. Kyle added that this college is Cecilia's alma mater, so he requested Merlin to mind his language. Alice then asked Cecilia that as a student of this college, what are her daily duties? Cecilia excitedly said that they study holy magic and how to purge demons. As demons are evil, so all followers must learn how to purge them. She added that it is in preparation for the holy war. Merlin then understood the reason why Asmodeus wanted to increase his military strength. He realized that the church is planning to launch an all-out war on the demon race. After a while, Merlin and Alice take Shirley to the embassy. The guards tried to stop them, as only authorized personnel are allowed in the embassy. Merlin then pointed towards Shirley and said that they are there to return a lost elf. And as soon as Shirley showed her face, the guards bowed and addressed her as Princess Shirley. This shocked Merlin and Alice, as they didn't know that Shirley was a princess. After a while, Merlin was thinking that 1 million gold coins seemed so cheap now. He then suggested Alice to ask for 100 million gold coins from Shirley's father, as he's the king. Suddenly, the same woman from before, Samuel, entered the room, and Shirley greeted her, as the woman is her aunt. After some time, Samuel thanked Alice and Merlin for returning Shirley, but in reality, she was thinking of killing them as well. Shirley then tells them that out of 9 races, her father is the strongest. And while Merlin was thinking of killing Shirley's father to extend his life, he was interrupted by Samuel. She said that according to her, Shirley's uncle, His Highness Ashdal, ruler of the Dark Elves, is the strongest. Shirley tried to stop Samuel, as taking Ashdal's name is a taboo. She explained that in the past, he refused to aid her father in establishing the United Kingdom, and even led the Dark Elves in rebellions. But her father managed to overpower him and put down his plots. Merlin asked if Ashdal was the strongest, then why was the Elven King able to defeat him? To which Samuel answered that the king ambushed him and killed his own little brother. Merlin was excited to know that this Ashdal was so strong that they had to resort to surprise attacks to kill him. Samuel added that Ashdal was a genius who could channel the power of the god. If he was still alive, then he might have been a living god. After a while, Alice was sad as she's missing Shirley already. But Merlin tells her to be happy as he is there for her. She then asked Merlin if he doesn't miss his little sister. But Merlin refused and said that he's super happy as she was even worse than Alice. He added that she beheaded all women who approached him and used their bones to make wine cups. Merlin said that he has been surrounded by problematic children for so long that he lost all interest in love. He then tell Alice that according to him, Samuel was a little biased towards the Dark Elf King, as even though his name was taboo, yet she used it freely. Merlin then noticed a ruckus on the street, so he went to check it. A man tells him that a guy is accepting arm wrestling challenges, and if you win, he's giving 2,000 gold rewards. But no one has succeeded till now. Alice said that the man is hiding his strength by suppressing his aura. The man then announced that as there is no one strong in Lydney, so he is taking his leave. But before he could leave, Merlin stopped him and challenged him. Alice tried to stop Merlin, but Merlin tell her to bet on him, and they could make easy money when he win. Alice thought this and quickly wished Merlin best of luck, as she's going to make a lot of money. And so, the arm wrestle match between Merlin and the suspicious guy begins. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. Alice thought this and quickly wished Merlin best of luck, as she's going to make a lot of money. And so, the arm wrestle match between Merlin and the suspicious guy begins. Merlin smiled and tell the man to stop trying to hide his strength, or he will lose. The man understood that Merlin was also hiding his true strength, so he decides to use his full power. He used his full power, which surprised Alice, as he managed to defeat Merlin. But Merlin smiled, as he still hasn't lost the match. In reality, he was just checking the strength of this man, and with just a little force, he defeated the man easily. And as the man gets knocked out, Merlin announced that he win. After a while, the man stood up and starts laughing and said that he never thought that anyone other than the first knight could best him in arm wrestling. He then gives Merlin the prize for defeating him. Even though Merlin won, Alice was still not happy, as he caused quite a stir. And before they could leave, they were stopped by the knights. The senior knight Franklin asked the culprits to step forward, or else he will arrest everyone. And as the people stared at Merlin, he looked at Alice. Franklin noticed this, and thought that Alice is the culprit, so he asked her to come quietly with him. Alice was angry at Merlin, as he set her up. But Merlin said that she made the bet, so she's partially responsible as well. And in front of Franklin's provocation, Merlin decides to kill him first, before dealing with Alice. But before Merlin could do anything, the other man came in front of him, and insulted Franklin. Franklin then ordered the knights to arrest the man. But the man removed his mask, and revealed who he really is. It was their captain named Morrison. He's one of the 12 knights, handpicked by the queen herself. Franklin quickly apologized to Morrison for not recognizing him. Morrison said that their reputation has declined because of the people like Franklin. And it's no surprise that the public is siding with the Elgin's master swordsman. Franklin replied that the sword master is a wanted criminal. But Morrison ordered him to stop talking, as he has already caused the Redbud Knights a great deal of trouble. After Franklin left, Morrison apologized for his behavior and said that next time, they should challenge each other to a proper wrestling match. At night, Shirley was asking Samuel about her mother's health. As before, she tried to stab her father several times. Samuel tells her to not worry, as everything in her family is great. She then takes Shirley outside a room and said that she prepared a surprise for her. But when Shirley looked inside, she got shocked to see that the room was full of corpse eaters. She asked Samuel, why is she keeping these disgusting creatures? To which Samuel smiled and her body begins to change color. She revealed that she's a dark elf, and she's going to fulfill the dark elf's dreams and Master Ash Doll's ambitions. Shirley was shocked to know that her aunt was a dark elf. Samuel then used her magic on Shirley and captured her. At the same time, outside a high-class lodging, some assassins were ready to attack the place. One of the men asked her leader why their whole group is attacking some adventurers. But his leader tells him that they are just following orders and gave the command to attack. Inside the place, Merlin was enjoying his time, thinking that he earned a considerable amount this time. He noticed Kyle and said that he's in good mood, so he will hear him out. Kyle said that he has been training non-stop to become his lady's protector, but his body reached its limits, and it feels like he can't protect her like this. Merlin tells him that it's good to know one's limits, as it allows you to find your weakness and thus improve it. But everyone has their own strengths as well. He added that there is an alcoholic in the town's Adventures Guild, whose information gathering is second to none. That is his strength, so he just need to find his strength as well. Kyle then thanked Merlin, as he's feeling much better now. Suddenly, the assassins jumped down and attacked Merlin. But Merlin defeated the assassins with just his towel. He then gave two choices to the leader of the assassins. First is to attack and become the ceiling decor like her comrades. Or second is to get lost, while he's still being generous. Merlin's words angered the leader, so she takes out a berserker potion. Kyle tells Merlin that it's called a fighting potion, that allows one to fight without limits. And as the leader drinks the potion, Kyle suggested Merlin to run away. Merlin got excited, as the leader's strength has grown a lot. Meanwhile, Alice was enjoying her time in the women's bath. Cecilia asked her about the place, as she can bet that it's her first time in such a luxurious bath. Alice thought that Cecilia is looking down on her, so she revealed that she has been in a bath even more luxurious than this one. It was the Holy Spring Bath in the Holy City. This shocked Cecilia, as that bath is legendary and only a hero can use it. She then excitedly asked Alice if she's the hero, but Alice tells her to forget everything that she said, as everyone had a complicated story. Alice then looked at Cecilia's breast and once again realized that the world is cruel. Cecilia said that according to her, there's no way that Lord Merlin would take a liking to someone like Alice, and muttered if Merlin has an ulterior motive. Alice was crying inside, as there's no ulterior motive, they had no other choice but to marry. Alice then tells Cecilia that Merlin has peculiar taste, so she should not wait for him. But to Alice's surprise, Cecilia said that she doesn't like Merlin, she idolizes and worship him. After hearing Cecilia's words, Alice questioned herself if she liked the Elgin's master swordsman or idolize him. Alice then heard Cecilia saying that there is already someone that she likes. But before she could say his name, Alice noticed a killing intent towards them. She then used her ice magic to defend herself and Cecilia from the assassins' attack. The assassins attacked them again, but in front of Alice's overwhelming power, they got defeated. One of the assassins then used a smoke bomb. Alice tells Cecilia to stay back, as the smoke is poisonous. But to Alice's surprise, Cecilia used her protection of the light to protect them both. The assassins tried to attack Alice again, but got defeated easily. After looking at Alice fighting, Cecilia wondered, how is she so strong, as she should be close to Saint rank. Alice then removed one assassin's mask and asked why the Dark Elves are trying to kill them. But the man smiled and said that the fight isn't over yet. He revealed that his captain has a dark berserker potion, and soon she will be here to kill both of them. He also added that by now she's probably already dispatched of their male companion. Alice looked at the poor assassin, who was smiling, unaware of who Merlin is. Suddenly, the wall got destroyed as the elves' leader came flying from it. They then heard Merlin's voice, saying it's not enough to beat him, while Kyle was telling Merlin to use his towel. Merlin then looked at the elf and said that there's still a survivor. Merlin also compliments Alice, as her skills have improved. He then asked the assassin who sent them here and why the Dark Elves are trying to kill them. The elf replied that even if Merlin kill him, he will not tell him anything. But as soon as Merlin destroyed the pillar, He bowed and said that Master Samuel sent them here. This shocked Merlin and Alice as they asked him why does she want to kill them. But the man swore that they were never told about the reason. Merlin realized something and said that maybe this had something to do with Shirley returning. Alice then tells Merlin to postpone going to the Dover Strait, as they should pay the Elven Embassy a visit first. After a while, inside the Elven Embassy, a man informed Samuel that the assassins they sent were defeated. There was only one survivor. The elf begged Samuel to forgive him and don't feed him to the corpse eater. Samuel told him to be relaxed and explained what exactly happened. The man said, even though the leader drank the Berserker potion, she was killed by the iron-ranked adventurer. He then asked her to show mercy, but Samuel still killed him. She muttered, why would she spare him after such a blatant lie? After all, she only promised not to feed him to the corpse eaters. She then orders Shafran to find an opportunity to kill those two adventurers tomorrow. The next day, Merlin was ready to teach Samuel a lesson, while Alice was trying to stop him from doing anything illegal. She suggested Merlin to sneak in from a side entrance, and then they will find Shirley and take her away from here. Alice closed her eyes and praised herself, saying her plan is foolproof. But when she opened her eyes, she saw the guards on the ground, while Merlin was saying that her plan was troublesome. They went inside the embassy, and Merlin starts beating the elf soldiers. Suddenly, they sensed someone attacking them from behind. And as the attack was about to hit Alice, Merlin saved her. The elf girl was confused, as Merlin was able to cancel her dark magic. Alice angrily asked the girl that even though they returned the princess, why the elves are after their life. The girl smiled and said that the person they returned was not the elven princess, but a nobody. Alice got confused and asked for Shirley's whereabouts, but the girl replied that she doesn't know anyone whose name is Shirley. Merlin then came forward and said to Alice that if she wants to see Shirley, then they need to use force. Suddenly, Merlin was attacked by Shafran, but he blocked the attack easily. Shafran then attacked Merlin with full power, but Merlin was unfazed by his attacks. At the same time, Samuel was in a meeting with the knight leader Macefield. She was telling Samuel that even though the queen sent many agents to gather information about princess whereabouts, but unfortunately, that has yielded no results. And as the two were talking, the gate got destroyed, and Samuel's subordinate came flying from the hole. Macefield remembers the elves as they are responsible for overseeing the security of the embassy. The next second, Merlin came inside and insulted Samuel. Macefield looked at Merlin and thought, his appearance matched the guy that Morrison told her about, an iron-ranked adventurer, who bested him in arm wrestling. Alice came after Merlin and got shocked to see Macefield there. She muttered that this is her first time committing a crime, and she ran into the Redbud Knight. Just how unlucky she is. Macefield then asked Merlin if he's doing crime on embassy grounds, and if yes, then she will have to detain him. Merlin taunted her to try her best, but before they could attack each other, Alice apologized and said that this is a misunderstanding. She pointed at Samuel and said that the ambassador sent assassins to kill them. Merlin tells her to take them to meet Shirley, but Samuel replied that the girl they brought was a lost elf, and she has already boarded a ship that will take her home. She then explained Macefield that these adventurers brought back a lost elf yesterday, but in order to increase their reward, they falsely claimed that she was the princess. But before the situation could go out of hand, Alice apologized to them and take Merlin outside. She explained to Merlin that Macefield directly reports to the queen, and if he makes a move, then it will be troublesome for them. And while Alice was thinking about how can they save Shirley, she noticed a shop on the street. She quickly purchased a mask from Merlin, and tell him to go and save Shirley, as no one will be able to recognize him. At night, Merlin disguised himself and reached outside the embassy. He noticed the corpse eaters and wondered what they are doing there. Suddenly, a magic circle starts forming in the sky. And after looking such a large magic array, Merlin realized that something is wrong with this magic. Some of the soul eaters attacked Merlin, but he killed them easily. At the same time, Samuel was using ancient magic to revive her master Ashdal. The elf maid brings Shirley and throws her near the magic circle. Shirley knew about this magic, it's called Elven Sorrow. She tells Samuel to stop this spell, or else this will turn this human city into a ghost town. But Samuel laughed and said that the Dark Elves are going to rule once more upon the return of Master Ashdal. Shirley said that her uncle was evil, and if she brings him back, then it will mean the destruction of the elven race. She then asked Samuel to put more faith in her father. But Samuel grabbed her neck and said that someone who would murder his own brother is not worthy of loyalty. She then throws Shirley on the ground and used her magic on her. Samuel then ordered the maid to keep the Redbud Knights away while she will monitor the spell. Meanwhile, the city was in chaos as corpse eaters were roaming freely and killing everyone at sight. The corpse eaters were about to kill a little girl, but she was saved by Alice. She tried to run away but they got surrounded by the corpse eaters. Alice then tells Kyle that they need to hurry back, as Cecilia won't be able to hold the corpse eaters for long. Kyle then used his skill and opened up a path for them to escape. At the same time, outside the royal palace, the captains of the Redbud Knights were discussing about the situation. Morrison tells Macefield that the queen is in the secret room, and Catherine is looking for her. Macefield then ordered the other knights to split up and take out as many corpse eaters as they can before heading to the clock tower. She said that someone who's able to utilize such a large magic array is not an enemy they can underestimate. They reached the lodging, where Cecilia asked them about Merlin. Even though Alice knew where Merlin is, she said that she doesn't know about his whereabouts. Alice then tells the little girl to go with Cecilia, as she will protect her from monsters. Alice knows now that there are a few thousand survivors there, so their scent will attract the corpse eaters, and they will find the place pretty soon. So she asked Kyle to be prepared. After a while, someone jumped behind them, and when they looked behind, they find a big bear. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates.